Hello everyone, welcome and or welcome back to my channel. I'm Em, and it has been brought to my attention that Goodreads has a list of beginner horror books recommended based on your preferred genre, and I consider myself a beginner horror reader. I started reading horror 3 years ago. I still feel like I have just barely dipped my toes into this genre, even though I have loved what I have experienced so far for the most part. And while I do not trust Goodreads recommendations, I do trust Sadie Hartman, aka Mother Horror, who is the person who put this list together. So I thought it would be fun to go through, react, see how many I've read, see how many I haven't read, and see if there are any that I want to move to my TBR ASAP, especially as we are embarking upon the week of Halloween when I'm filming this. And I also just recently posted my very tentative TBR for the horror bingo board for 2025 and 2026. I'll link that down below if you missed it, if you want to check it out, if you want to see what books I put on that list. I put a lot of books on the list that I have heard about for a while and have been intimidated to read. So it's a very lofty TBR for me. All that aside, let's jump in to this list and see what Sadie Hartman recommends. This is based on genre, so I'm hoping that means that there's going to be like a little bit of something for everybody. My computer screen is definitely helping out with my lighting situation right now. It is a very rainy, gloomy Friday here, so my lighting is less than ideal, but we will make it work. Okay, let's do this. So we're starting off with horror for fantasy readers, and I already see several books that I'm interested in. I didn't put that specific A.G. Slatter book on my TBR, The Path of Thorns, but I did put a book by her because I'm very interested in her. Strange Beasts by Susan J. Morris is definitely on my TBR. I do want to read that. Midnight Rooms, we're backtracking, I just heard of a little while ago, actually from Sadie Hartman's newest book, Feral and Hysterical, which is a whole bunch of horror recommendations written by women, and it sounded really good. I think the cover is really pretty. So I don't know that it's officially on my TBR yet, but I'm definitely eyeballing it and thinking about it. So The Butcher of the Forest, I have read, and I didn't care for it very much. It's a dark fairy tale retelling, and the pacing was just really slow, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. I've really enjoyed Premi Muhammad before, but I just had a level of disconnect with The Butcher of the Forest that I wasn't prepared for. Never Whistle at Night is a short story collection. My husband actually just bought this at the end of the summer and read it and really loved it. I am not a short story girl, but I really want to be, so I do want to read this. I'm hopeful that maybe horror can like be my gateway into being a short story person. Starling Hout by Alex E. Harrow. Okay, listen, Alex and E. Harrow and I have a very off again, on again relationship. Sometimes I love her books, like they all just went out of my head. I really loved her Sleeping Beauty retelling, the first one. I didn't like the sequel, but I loved the first one. I also really liked her one about witches. I'm so sorry, editing Emily. You're having to do so much heavy lifting right now. But then like the Starling House, I didn't like the second, was it Mere Mended? Whatever that book is called. So I'm very like 50-50, and I'm really on the fence on whether or not she's going to be an author that I keep reading from. So Starling House wasn't really for me. Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Cott. That's another author that's kind of 50-50. I didn't like the Salt Grows Heavy very much, which is kind of a Little Mermaid retelling. But then I loved The Dead Take the A Train. So who knows? Ring Shout, obviously, huge fan. P.J. Lee Clark, oh, so good. I've actually been considering rereading Ring Shout on Halloween because it's been a number of years. Okay, so now we get to a bunch that I haven't even heard of before. The Legend of Charlie Fish by Josh Rowntree, I haven't heard of. D'Amour by Michelle Tang, I haven't heard of, but I think that cover is gorgeous. Venko by Sherry Demeline, I have read. I really like that. That is a modern day witchy road trip kind of story, and I just devoured it. And then The Ghosts of Gwendolyn Montgomery by Clarence A. Haynes, I have not heard of either. So I would say, kind of based off of this fantasy list, the ones that I've read for the most part, I didn't like very much. They were 3 stars at the most, I think, when I read them. And there's only one that I was absolutely a 5-star, and then Venko I think was like a 4 or 4.5. So still high, just not an all-time favorite. So maybe horror, fantasy-based horror is not my vibe. That could be entirely the case. I would assume that horror-based fantasy is going to swing a little bit more fairy tale, which is not my vibe most of the time. So now I have horror for romance readers, and I see quite a few that I do have on my TBR. Hungerstone is not. So that one's not. That's the exception. Though I have heard really good things about it. I just am not a vampire person. Vampire stories are a lot more miss than they are hits for me. Every once in a while I love one, but generally they don't quite scratch the itch that I'm looking for. Fine Shade by Kate Griffin I haven't heard of, but I love that cover. I think it's really pretty. The Resurrectionists, one of you put that book on my radar, so now I am interested in it, and I love that cover. Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson was 5 stars. That is like cottagecore horror. It starts off so cute, like this little contemporary romance of these 2 women who meet at a farmer's market, and then it goes along, and the red flags, they are a-flying, and the main character does not see a single one until it's too late. And when it goes dark, it goes dark. But it's so good. It was so good. Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. I didn't love, but I went into it with the wrong expectations. I was expecting horror with a little bit of romance, and it was like capital R romance with just a little bit of horror. So wrong expectations. I'm hoping to try her again now that I have a better grasp on the type of books she's writing. I Can Fix Her by Ray Wild. I've never heard of before, but I'm curious. This Is How You Lose a Time War meets Things Have Gotten Worse Since We've Last Spoke. I haven't read that. In this fast-paced queer horror novella. Ooh, okay. It could be fun. That could be fun. House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson I want to read because I really loved Year of the Witching, but House of Hunger is vampires. Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison I want to read. I put on my horror bingo board that I really want to read a Rachel Harrison in the next year. I've only read one. I read So Thirsty, and it was okay, but I've heard Such Sharp Teeth is really good, and that's a werewolf story, and I love a werewolf story. A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson I want to read just because it's everywhere, and it really does seem to be a booktube darling, and I want to read it and see what I think. Baroness of the Eastern Seaboard by C.S. Humble. I have not heard of this one. Actually, I haven't heard of the last 3. So this one is: In a world governed by steel and smoke, Larry Cornish and Sven Eriksson live by the code of the Gunfighters Guild. I don't know if that's going to be for me, just based off of that little sentence. I don't know if that's an Emily book. And then the Guild of Stories, I think, is vampires as well, and gay. So that could be for me. I would be interested. I'd give that a shot. That's also been, it was published in 1991. It's as old as my sister is. And then The Haunting of Maddie Clare. I've never read a Simone St. James. I don't know if I'm interested in her books. I think they might swing, just based off of the reviews I've seen of other people reading her books, I think they might swing more thriller than I'm interested in. So I haven't picked one up yet, but if you've read Simone St. James and she has a book that is a true horror and maybe not a horror thriller or horror mystery, let me know, because I would definitely move her up the list. I'm really excited for the next section, the horror for sci-fi readers. I think this is going to be where my TBR gets really big because I haven't read very many, but I'm very interested in them. So I want to read all of them just based off the covers so far. And I've only read one and I didn't like it, but that's okay. So The Unseen I haven't read, but I've this author, Anaya Alborn, I have seen pop up a little bit and I'm interested in her books. So if this is the child one, I might skip it, but I'll have to look into it. Oh, if this is her new one, yeah, I think this involves a child coming to this house and infiltrating this family. And I don't know if I'm into creepy children. Just a Girl by Alyssa Cole. I've read Alyssa Cole's romance, but I haven't read her thrillers or her horror. I didn't even know she had a horror. Oh, it's an Amazon original story. That's a bummer. Okay, I probably won't read it, but maybe if she ever publishes it, if she ever gets to publish it somewhere other than Amazon, I will read it because I really like her. Wild Spaces by S.L. Coney. I have heard of this before. It's an H.P. Lovecraft kind of story, so with eldritch monsters, and I really like that cover with the tentacles. And then we have another Amazon original stories, which is such a bummer, and it's Stephen Graham Jones, who I also love. I love Stephen Graham Jones. So again, maybe someday this will get published somewhere else and I can read it. Foe by Ian Reid. I haven't heard of this one, but I have wanted to read his one that's about memory loss and Alzheimer's. We Spread. Is that what it's called? I do want to read that. I don't know anything about Foe, but he also is on my list. Okay, this is more of a thriller. I am not a thriller girly, so I think I'm fine with skipping the thrillers. John Bassoff, The Memory Ward. I don't know if that's going to be for me either. Yeah, that's not quite my vibe. Okay, Our Hideous Progeny, I do want to read. I have seen this one before. This is a Frankenstein retelling, and I hate the original Frankenstein. I know, I just hate it. It's so much talking. It's so much whining. Victor Frankenstein is such a whiny bitch. I can't even handle it. But I think Frankenstein retellings can be interesting. So that one is on my list. Eden by Tim Levin. That's a thriller. Okay, so that's a no. Tender in the Flesh is the one I've read. I did not like it. It went in a direction I didn't think was very interesting. I would have liked more exploration of the cognitive dissonance and ethic scrambling done when humans become a consumable good, but that was not the direction the author was going in. That's fine. That's fair. Just it wasn't the direction she picked was not the one I was interested in. Feeders by Matt Serafini. Oh, this one's about social media. I could be into this. I could be into that. That kind of sidewinds with my a nonfiction interest that I have. Lakewood by Megan Giddings. Megan Giddings is on my list. And, this is about medical experimentation though. I could read it. I could give it a try. I haven't read very much medical horror yet. I already have, but I already have a lot of like doctor medical based anxiety. So I don't know, maybe medical horror would be cathartic. Fingers crossed. And then Natural Beauty by Ling Ling Wang. I have not read. It is on my list. I do want to read it. This is like a deconstruction of the beauty industry. So I do want to read that. All right. Horror for murder mystery readers. I don't know. I used to read historical mysteries all the time. I don't really want to read them anymore. Or no, that's not true. I don't know why I said that. It's because I wasn't fully paying attention to the words that are coming out of my mouth. I don't read it as much as I used to, but I still do like it when I get into it. But I do not like contemporary murder mysteries because they get a little too police heavy. They get a little too procedural. And I prefer a historical amateur sleuth type situation. So I can already tell you I'm not interested in the first three at all. I have tried to read River Woman, River Demon, but that's about a mother, and I am not here to hang with horror books about depressed or resentful mothers. I know that is definitely a thing that exists in the real world, and I feel like these books are probably cathartic for somebody. I don't know who, but I do not find motherhood to be a burden, and I don't really want to read a fictional book for women who are drowning in motherhood. So, just personal preference. I am interested in Bad Cree by Jessica Johns. This is her debut supernatural horror. I think Indigenous authors do horror so incredibly well because their ancestors have lived through literal apocalypse and they nail it every time, in my opinion. This Cursed House by Del Sandine. This was an Aardvark Book Club pick last year, I think. I think end of last year, and I always regret not picking it. It's a Southern Gothic horror about a Black woman who moves to New Orleans in the 1960s to work for this family, and I think there's like a cult or a curse or something. The Shape of Darkness by Laura Purcell. Ooh, this is another like kind of historical one. I could read this. This just based off this little paragraph that's not even a complete paragraph. I think I could be into this. Little Eve by Katrina Ward. I do want to read Katrina Ward. I'm not sure where I want to start. Last House on Needless Street definitely seems to be her most popular, but it was also the one that scares me the most to read because it is about a child going missing, which is kind of a big no-no for me generally. But this one I think is a haunted house story. So I see. Also, if you've read Katrina Ward and you have a recommendation for where I should start, let me know. Burn the Negative I've heard of. I think this is a film horror, which I haven't read. Ooh, you know what? This could be fun. So I might read this. It's an incendiary mashup of horror and suspense. Notorious slasher film is remade, and the curse that haunted it is reawakened. That could be fun. I could like that. I did really like Bury Your Gaze, and I feel like maybe Burn the Negative could go in a similar vein. And then Honeysuckle and Bone by Trisha Tobias I haven't heard of, but this cover is really pretty. On the run from her own dark secrets, a teen girl becomes a nanny for a prestigious family on their extravagant Jamaican estate. Oh, maybe not. There's children involved. Maybe not. I don't like reading books with kids in it unless it's like a middle grade or a YA. There's some exceptions, but in general. Okay, so this is definitely where I am out of my comfort zone. This is horror for crime and thriller readers, which is not my cup of tea. We'll kind of go through it real quick. I do want to read Bat Eater by Kylie Lee Baker, but I am scared of it, so I've been putting it off. I have DNF'd When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole, only because it stressed me out so much and I couldn't handle it at the time. But I also wasn't reading horror at the time, so maybe I could go back and try it again and have more success. We have another Katrina Ward, which I haven't heard great reviews for Looking Glass Sound, but who knows. The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim I want to read. Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey I want to read. And Jackal by Erin E. Adams I do want to read. So 4 in a row right there, which I was not expecting. And then horror for Gothic readers. I want to read My Darling Dreadful Thing by Joanna Van Veen so bad. I have both of Joanna Van Veen's books on my I need to read soon TBR. I'm hoping I really love her. And then we got a lot of stuff going on in these covers. A Good House for Children. No, she's a mom. I'm out. And then The Woman in the Mirror. I feel like it's going to be a lot of family stuff, which means I am probably going to run into mothers and children in those books. So The Woman in the Mirror, maybe. Probably not, but maybe. And then The Gray Dog is literary horror. Normally I would say no, but I read The Hounding earlier this year and I really, really liked it. So maybe. The Devil and Mrs. Davenport, I'm going to be honest, I don't really love that cover. And I think if we're going into 1950s America, she's probably a mom and I'm probably out. The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling I know gets horrible reviews, but it's by Caitlin Starling, who I really like, and I do want to read it. Wakenhurst by Michelle Paver. I really like that cover too. 1906, a large manor house, Wake's End, sits on the edge of a bleak fen, just outside of the town. And wait, let's get more information. Just hold, please. No, that one's okay. I'll skip that one. Carrie and Crow. Marguerite has been locked in the attic of her family home, a disintegrating Chelsea house overlooking the stench of the Thames. This is kind of feeling like Jane Eyre, but from Bertha's perspective. The Hacienda I do want to read because I want to read more. Isabel Canes. Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. We're getting some duplicate authors here. Again, I do want to read her because I have seen her name popping up a little bit. Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez. Listen, this book is 600 pages. I don't know if I have the stamina to read a 600-page horror novel. I don't know that slow, creeping horror is really what I'm looking for. I really want like a fast gut punch kind of reading experience when I pick up a horror book, and I just don't know that this is gonna be the vibes that I'm looking for. Year of Witching by Alexis Henderson, I gave 5 stars. I really liked it. I just read Mexican Gothic like this month, and I liked it so much more than I thought I was going to. I was really nervous because I've had a not so great experience with Silvia Moreno Garcia in the past, but I really loved Mexican Gothic. I liked the main character. I liked the atmosphere. I liked the creeping sense of dread in that book. It was so fun. The Manor of Dreams by Christina Lee, I haven't really heard good reviews for. It's Mexican Gothic meets Everything I Never Told You. And it's about like a famous former Hollywood starlet. And I think it's like a haunted house story. I don't know that that's where I want to go. Where the Dead Brides Gather by Nuzo Ano. I do want to read this. I love this cover. And it's about possession, malevolent ghosts, family tension, and secrets and murder. Sounds great. Sounds great. And then Solemn Broom, I've seen this cover before, and I really like this cover too. A gifted healer unravels the mysteries of a cursed estate and its enigmatic owner in a witchy retelling of Jane Eyre. Oh, yes, no, yes, yeah, yeah, okay. That sounds great. I do want to read that. Okay, now we're on to his horror for historical fiction readers. Okay. So To the Bone by Elena Bruzas. Is this gay? It should be gay. I want to read this. This looks really cool. It's set in colonial America. Ooh, maybe there's some like cannibalism involved. Maybe it's sapphic. I'm just guessing at this point. This is all conjecture, but yeah, let's put that on my I want to read list. The Bewitching, I do want to read. It's Silvia Moreno Garcia. It's witchy. I'm assuming this is going to be a lot of like witchy books. The Rotting Room, I don't know that I like that cover. Ooh, it's about nuns. It's this religious horror. I don't know how I feel about that. The Butcher's Daughter, nope. That is going to be cannibalism. If that is a retelling of Sweeney Todd, no thank you. Pass. Pass on the cannibalism. If I know it's cannibalism, I'm going to avoid it. If I read one accidentally, that's okay. A Theory of Haunting. Ooh, this is by Catherine Addison? No. Oh, this is Catherine Addison's pen name. Interesting. So she writes this under Sarah Monette. I'll read this. I like Catherine Addison a lot. Victorian Psycho I read. I kind of liked it. I kind of hated it. It was very mixed feelings. Fox Ash by Kate Worsley. This is really pretty. This I would read. Maybe. That looks pretty. I like that. Reformatory, I actually have it out from the library right now. Again, it's a long horror. I'm kind of scared of it. I don't know if it's going to be for me. Fever Dream by George R. R. Martin. I'm not interested in. Silver and Nitrate, Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is her like Hollywood horror, and I could be convinced to check it out. The Fervor by Alma Katsu. I don't think I want to read. Ooh, yeah. Psychological and supernatural twist on the horrors of the Japanese American internment camps in World War II. That is going to be a hard read. I can already tell. I am not going to say no, but I'm going to have to be in a very specific mood to pick up that book. Between Two Fires by Christopher, how do you say his last name? Buhlman. He is on my list. Not necessarily this book. He has a fantasy series that I'm interested in, but if I like that, I could read this. I've heard he is kind of funny, and humor and horror works for me. When the Reckoning Comes, I'm not really interested in. Heart Strange and Dreadful. I don't think I'm interested in anything on this next row, if I'm being honest. Going down, I am interested in the ones I haven't read. So Creatures of Will and Temper by Molly Tanzer. Molly Tanzer has written something else that I'm interested in, but I really like this cover. What is this even about? Victorian London is a place of fluid social roles, vibrant arts culture, do not know how to say that particular collection of words, and dangerous underground diabolical cults. Ooh, yes. Fencer Evadne Gray cares for none of the former and knows nothing of the latter when she's sent to London to chaperone her younger sister, aspiring art critic Dorina. This sounds up my alley. This could be fun. I will definitely put this on my read list. Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling I read. I didn't love. It's very fever dreamy, which I have learned is not a buzzword for me. And Lone Women by Victor Lavelle I have read, and I didn't love it because I accidentally got it spoiled for me. And the twist, like if you get it spoiled, there's not very much suspense left in the book. But it was well written. Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones I've read. It's not my favorite of his, but not my least favorite. American Ghoul by Michelle McGill Vargas looks like I would really like it. Ooh, with a dash of buddy comedy and an innovative twist on the vampire genre. I would try that. That sounds good, and I like that cover. Blood Slaves. Oh, you know what? Ooh, I might read this. What if a mystifying revolt precluded the Civil War and changed history as we know it? This is reminding me of, I can't remember a single book I've ever read before today, but it's reminding me of this book by Justina Ireland, this duology, which is kind of the same thing as like, what if a zombie apocalypse interrupted the Civil War and the country just had to go into survival mode? I loved that duology. It's YA, it's so good, but this sounds like it's kind of in a similar vein, but with vampires, so I want to read this. I think this could be fun. And then The Hong Kong Widow, set in 1953 Hong Kong in a remote mansion, witnesses insist a massacre took place. Oh, so maybe like a ghost story? Ooh, that could be cool. Yeah, I could put that on the list. Maybe not on the immediate TBR, but on the like eventually, I want to get to it. All right, horror for literary fiction readers. A whole bunch of nope. 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 I've read Mapping the Interior. I think it's also not my favorite Stephen Graham Jones. Is it my least favorite? It's close. It's close to my least favorite. No, that's a big old nope. I don't want to read any of these. And then horror for nonfiction readers. Hey, yeah, this is where I am going to shine. I love nonfiction about horror. I want to look through 101 horror books to read before you're murdered. That is by Sadie Hartman, the same person who put together this list. Feral and Hysterical, same author. I have loved that. I really need to buy my own copy because I finally gave it back to the library and I just find myself wanting to reference it. Paperbacks from Hell by Grady Hendrix is about horror book covers. I want to look through that as well. I think that could be really fun to see how horror covers have evolved over the years. And then I just bought Why I Love Horror the other day. It's essays on horror literature. I'm so excited to read it. It's actually sitting on my shelf waiting for me to start. Into the Forest and All the Way Through is a poetry collection. Ooh, I'm not a poetry person. True crime poetry, I think even less so. America's Most Gothic Haunted History, Stranger Than Fiction. Ooh, this could be fun. I don't know if I'm going to put this on my TBR, but that could be a fun time if you're into like haunted houses. The Science of Monsters, The Truth About Zombies, Witches, Werewolves, and Vampires and Other Legendary Creatures. I want to read this. Yes. Yeah. That sounds great. I can't watch horror movies, but I'm fascinated with horror movies as a genre. I'm fascinated with horror in general, but specifically horror movies. I don't know why, because considering it's like a genre film, I literally cannot watch because I just get too overwhelmed and too scared, and I don't like having imagery that I can't unsee forced upon me. But I'm just fascinated by the genre and its effects on people, just enjoyment-wise, psychologically, creatively, all the things. Feeding the Monster, Why Horror Has Its Hold on Us. This goes along with what I just kind of said, so I definitely will want to read this, especially if it's about like how horror has been embraced by mainstream pop culture. Yes. Cursed Objects. This is strange but true stories about infamous items. Not as much. Stephen King's Dance Macabre. What is this? No, I think I'm good. I don't really... Stephen King gets enough love. He does not need more from me. Horror for weenies, yes! Everything you need to know about the films you're too scared to watch. Oh, hi. Yes, somebody wrote this specifically for me. That was so kind of them. I 100% I want to read this. Monster, She Wrote, The Woman Who Pioneered Horror and Speculative Fiction. Yes. Okay, yeah. And I want to read this too. Oh my gosh. The nonfiction section. Who would have thought that would have been my most successful? I mean, I guess I could have guessed knowing how I am. But yeah, so that's their recommendations. Am I surprised I haven't read more of them? Not really. I know I've barely dipped my toe into horror as a genre. I know I still have a lot of reading to do, a lot of discovery to do on my own. I've really been relying on BookTube recommendations so far. So I definitely need to start diving in and being a little bit braver. I definitely, even though I haven't really been scared when reading a horror yet, I've definitely been grossed out, but I haven't really been scared. So I think I'm a lot braver than I give myself credit for, but I am still easily intimidated by horror. And there's a lot of subgenres I have not dove into yet. But that was really fun to kind of like look through those lists and see what the recommendations are and what I'm still reading or what I'm interested in reading. I will now have to go back through this list. I'm going to write down all these titles so I can keep track of them and actually check some out from the library and give them a shot. But yeah, that was so fun. So if you have watched this video, if you made it to the end with me, thank you so much for spending your precious time with me and listening to me yap about the books I want to read. If you want to leave a comment down below, please let me know the authors I asked recommendations for. If there's anything on this list that I was like, no, absolutely not, that you feel strongly I should reconsider, let me know. If you've read any of these and have a strong opinion either way, I would love to hear your thoughts as well. Just like yap with me down in the comments. That's always my favorite part of posting videos. And if you would like to just leave an emoji to let me know that you were here, let's do the screaming emoji with the hands by the face. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye!